Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Meeting of the Wahoo City Council, December 22nd, 2025. Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall. Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Stuart Creechy.
Here.
Shane Sweet.
Here.
Carl Warford.
Here.
Chris Rappel.
Here.
Patrick Nagel.
Here.
Ryan Ideas.
Okay, no proclamation. Anyone in the audience have something they want to discuss that's not on the agenda? We'll move on. Department head report.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to keep my comments brief. So wanted to just highlight a few things going on. I know it's December, but we still got plenty of things that happen with our department. Not so much probably outside activities, but wanted a couple things included in your packet. This first one is a press release that was included probably a month ago. We were awarded a grant of about $17,450 to be exact from the Nebraska State Arboretum. It's actually federal monies that have come into the state. The Arboretum received about $10 million, but we applied for it, and basically we received $17,450, which is what we asked for. We're going to use it, as the press release says in about the third paragraph, concentrating our efforts on Smith Park. We're going to remove the last 2 ash trees that are there, which are larger ones. That'll save the city probably about $10,000, which I had already maybe planned on doing if we hadn't received the grant. Tim Mongar, Arbor Ventures, will be doing that work. We worked with Tim extensively, Tim and Melanie, for a lot of the tree work in our community and our public properties, and they've done a fantastic job for us. I believe they treat us very well. So anyway, so 2 ash trees will get removed, and then the other thing we're going to do is go in and do some really good pruning of all of our other older growth mature trees, which Smith Park has a number of those as well. A couple nice little features too of the grant. We're going to buy a couple pole saws with it, so you can buy equipment. And then the nice little add-on that I'll mention to you, one of the things that happens in the winter is staff training and development. We have a young man, his name's Tony Thorson, who we hired back in June on the parks maintenance side. Tony's been fantastic. He's my turf and horticulture specialist, has a degree in that from Southeast Community College, and he is actually working towards becoming a certified arborist. And so the city, for the first time in my 25 years working here, will have a certified arborist on staff. And that's valuable because, as Melissa knows, we get all kinds of, and Travis does too, calls about tree nuisance issues. And as I've always told people, I can only offer so much. I do have a fair amount of tree knowledge, but typically Travis and I tag team those calls or those inquiries. So now, once Tony becomes certified, which he'll sit for that test in the spring, we will certainly include him in those conversations and have another set of eyes as a certified arborist. So that's exciting for us to have him take that step to do that. So he, every Friday afternoon, he has a study group that he meets online with at the shop, at the park shop, so we give him a couple hours, obviously to do that, and that's how we're supporting that. Back to the grant though, the nice part was I was able to retroactively include the cost of that test into the grant proceeds, which originally I had not submitted. That test is about $500-600 to sit for, and so that grant will pay for his test exam cost, and so that's exciting as well. It'll save us some money there. So we anticipate this to be done in the late winter time, February 1st roughly. We haven't received the official notice to proceed, because you can't do anything until they tell you, otherwise you're not going to get it reimbursed. But we're anticipating around February 1, late winter, and that's a good time for us before we really start going, starting March 1 or April 1 for sure. So we're excited about that project. The other piece in the on the Spark and on the online agenda was something that we're also excited about. It's kind of in its infancy stages, and that's a project we're partnering with a nonprofit organization called Monarch Joint Venture, MJV for short. Jake Keeney, who is a Wahoo resident, and he's a UTAN native, works for Monarch Joint Venture, and he approached the city, myself, about if there was property or a piece of property that would lend itself well to pollinators, specifically monarch butterfly habitat. As you would imagine, Monarch Joint Venture, that's their focus, is monarch butterflies, and trying to build up or reestablish their population because it's dwindled due to spraying, overspraying, and all the things you read, right? And certainly Nebraska, if you didn't know this, sits right in the flyway between Canada, where they go in the summer, and then to Mexico now this time of the year. And so we talked a little bit, and we identified the piece of ground just on the west side of the Dry Creek Run, west side of Hackberry Park, that sits right on the 4-lane. It's about 3 1/4 acres. We looked at it. In fact, when he was there looking at it, he tagged about 12 monarch butterflies, and so he got really excited. And so in talking with Melissa, we agreed to partner with MJV to create a pollinator habitat for specifically monarchs, but certainly it's going to be a pollinator habitat for all other kinds of wildlife, including other insects, butterflies, as well as birds. And so that's going to really start to be something that you're going to see, I guess, take shape and mature over the next couple of years. So what we've done is we went in, we mowed it. We hadn't really mowed that property all summer, so we mowed it a couple times to knock it down. We sprayed it twice with glyphosate. And then again, this is all with his technical assistance to tell us how to manage this. We mowed it, sprayed it, and then on November 25th, believe it or not, Tuesday of the state championship games in Lincoln, when both teams were there, we came in, our staff as well as him, we drilled it, we brought in a seed drill, and we drilled a seed mix that they provided. MJV brought that to the table at no cost. And it included about, as the press release says, about 95 different types of wildflowers and different plant material seeds in that. You're not going to see much activity there this summer. This seed will be dormant till the spring. Some of it will pop. We'll actually mow it a little bit as he directs us to. But then, like it says, it's always the sleep, creep, and leak type of philosophy. And so in year 3, we hope, so basically in 2028, you can expect, we would hope, or we're hoping that we will see a very, very nice pollinator habitat. So, just for what it's worth, I think it's a good use of that property, considering there really isn't much else we can do with that. We did remove, I think I reported this to you, we removed the driveway, which was a culvert, to the other side, to that side, from the ball field side to that piece, to try to eliminate that bottleneck in terms of the stormwater drainage, which we felt like existed and caused some flooding at Hackberry. And that seems to be paying dividends. We didn't see any of that this past summer, but we did also not have those gully washer rains either. So, at any rate, we're excited about that project. So, I actually put a web page on our website devoted to this project. So, if you go to our web page, I'm going to keep updating it with pictures and different things. It's got this information on it right now, as well as about 4 different pictures that have been taken of what we've done to cultivate this property and to get it where it's at right now. And so we'll keep updating that through the years with progress reports, so to speak. So we're kind of excited about that. Other than that, the department keeps rolling on. Senior services remains vibrant. 400 meals in November. December's always very active there as well. Seeing new faces in that program, I can tell you the access to that program continues to grow, whether that's a function of our economy or whatever, but we do see new faces that are entering into that meal program to receive noon lunches delivered if they're not able to get out, or congregate that come in and either eat there or they pick them up. So it's a program that continues to grow. Thrift Store is performing unbelievably well. Their gross sales the last 2 months have been over $10,000. And so that's a very, continues to be Debbie Wade, our thrift store manager, does a fantastic job in marketing and promoting that whole service that's provided. So everything's good there. And then our rec program, we're really gearing up for first through the year new programming. A lot of new sessions, swim lessons, gymnastics, gym stoppers, which is a preschool program, first and second grade basketball clinic, all begin right after the first of the year. We just finished with our youth basketball program, so we just kind of roll right into one thing after the first of the year. And then on the park side, honestly with the weather, it's been a good time for us to do some projects. So like today, if you drove by the Civic, tree work is always something we like to catch up on this time of the year. Guys were taking down the last pear tree on the south side of the Civic that had been planted probably 20 years ago. But those pear trees are now not recommended to be planted. They're kind of an invasive species, but they're also a very soft tree, and we had a lot of branches that would come off of those. And so we removed 2 of them about a year ago. We took out the last one today. The guys took it down. They got most of the stump yet to get out, or the trunk, I should say. So they're doing those sort of projects. And so the weather has been very cooperative as well. And the other thing they did as well was they also took out the playground at Plotchick Park, which we'll be talking about later. They already did that. That took them last week. They've removed it, and so that site's ready to go for a new playground as well. So again, the warm weather, like it or leave it, it certainly is beneficial for us to get caught up with different projects. We also do things like picnic tables. We go out and we bring picnic tables to our shop. We furbish the ones that need to be painted, new planks put on, those kind of things. So, and the other thing I would mention is with our reorganization that we did back in May after a retirement of a longtime employee, we kind of repurposed our focus in the winter too. Is our parks guys now spend time inside, and so we've had, if the weather turns bad, we find stuff for them to do, whether it's actually here at the library, City Hall, or even at the Civic Center in terms of painting, drywall work, flooring work, whatever it is. And so we've got some very skilled guys. We bring them in the winter time to do some larger projects in the winter and take advantage of those skill sets when they have those opportunities. So, anyway, don't want to be too long-winded. Questions for me on that report? Thank you.
Thank you.
I know I'm not officially on the agenda, but 3 things to report on. First, the CDBG Downtown Revitalization Grant. I think I reported to you previously. We received 4 proposals, and Jerry and I spent a little time talking, and I think it's in order for, appropriate for our Economic Development Committee. I think it's Stuart, Ryan, and Carl, to review those and score them along with Jerry and I and 2 members of the downtown folks who have been interested in and participated in city projects. Josh Kruger agreed to be part of that, as well as Captain Nagrin. So we will be sending out those proposals for you to review ahead of time along with the scoring sheet, and then we'll get together and kind of discuss, and out of those 4 we'd like to make a recommendation at the next council meeting for entering into a contract. That is contingent on us getting our contract documents from DED on the grant. We don't want to enter into a contract until we know we're getting the money, but I would expect we would have it by then. The second thing is City Hall. You've probably seen activity happening at City Hall. We have the entire basement, for the most part, cleared out. Travis Beavers has taken a very active role in helping organizing other crews to come in and help us get some stuff taken care of. And we have moved a fair amount of stuff out of City Hall already into the new location. Our official moving date, barring blizzard, is January 15th, so we're planning to be closed entirely on the 15th. The 16th we will be closed to the public. There's still some functions that we need to do, utility billing and such, that will have to take place, and then we'll be back open on the following Monday, so we close a Thursday and Friday. But then after that we'll be in the new location at 608 North Linden. The police department has also been looking to move into their facility, and I just heard today that, barring, again, bad weather, they will be moving on the 13th and the 14th. So we have our IT company standby to help us make sure we're all connected and all of the things. Then the last thing I want to report on is the asbestos removal at City Hall. I have, in the process of applying for a Section 128A brownfield asbestos removal grant, which would cover up to $20,000 of the removal. And so I have that paperwork completed. I'm waiting to have a conversation. I need a document from the State Historic Preservation Office before I turn that in, but I think that I'm working to get the bids as well for getting that asbestos taken out. So.
Is that grant something that can be retroactive or something we have to wait before we can
So it's kind of a revolving thing, there's money allocated every so often for that program, and so they'll take applications at any point and, make a determination on award. 'Cause
They
it's-
move relatively quickly.
Yes,
It's
they
not
do.
something
And
we're
that-
waiting 6 months for a grant period.
No, and the reason why I didn't apply for it before is because they like to have projects move, right? So, we're ready, we're at that point, we kind of know when we're gonna be out, and so. Any questions?
Thank you, good reports. Next item is the consent agenda. Pretty straightforward with that.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call.
Cochee,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
Okay, public hearings and associated items. We'll move on then to convene as a CDA, Community Development Agency. And down here. A resolution to recommend approval of the redevelopment plan amendment for the SEN AHC Affordable Housing Project located on the lots 1 through 6, Wilma Ridge subdivision. So we'll hear from that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Kevin Anderson, once again, here in front of you. This one's pretty exciting in terms of the request in front of you here today. I'd like to say it came together fairly quickly in terms of the stars aligning to make this opportunity. So I'd like to kind of shout out staff for acting quickly and getting this on council for consideration to be able to move on a number of fronts, so that on the actual construction side, you know, we or a contractor can go in as soon as possible, but also to meet the kind of terms of the grant itself. City of Wahoo is the applicant and recipient of that grant for Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which essentially kind of buys down the price of homes from market value and make those affordable for qualified individuals at 120% of area median income for Saunders County. So, you know, there's some nomenclature tied to that, call it affordable, call it workforce, whichever it is, but it helps. And it helps a lot of individuals get into home ownership within the community, which has long been established as a community priority back, you know, during and before the 2017 master plan for the community that's been identified. So we are here as the developer of Wilma Ridge and current owner of those lots, requesting tax increment financing to help kind of make all of this work in terms of the collaboration between the City of Wahoo and SENAC, the SENAHC, the subsidiary of the Southeast Nebraska Development District, who's administering the grant for the city. But the opportunity came to us in the sense that they were looking to do 6 homes within the community, and we just so happen to have 6 lots, plus some, out at Wilma Ridge, that came together pretty well. And so the TIF request is for $330,000 and capitalized interest, which will essentially meet the contribution of 6 lots, lots 1 through 6 out at Wilma Ridge, which are the 6 lots on West Broadway, just south of 23rd Street, where that'll be in between 23rd and 2 homes that we have on lots 7 and 8 currently. And I bring that up because in large part, what's going on in lots 1 through 6 is going to look extremely identical, if not kind of carbon copy, you know, with some adjustments, but to what's on lots 7 and 8 currently. And so that's a kind of dynamic of how all of this works. We can take that kind of floor plan and housing size, housing quality, put them on lots 1 through 6, and because of the grant, they can be made available to a lower income for those that are struggling to get into home ownership at market values, which this day and age is a daunting task. So the 330,000 request is essentially the market value of the underlying lots that those homes will be built on. 6 lots. It is a phased TIF request. The requirements of the grant are for 6 homes over 3 years or 2 homes per year. And so that's essentially how we'd like to phase this TIF request. And what a phase TIF does is at each phase, 3 phases each year, where we're building 2 homes per year, starts that 15-year shot clock for each. And we've done similar situations here recently as well. And essentially the proceeds of the TIF, or that annual increment, will go back to JEO to kind of recoup the contribution of those lots. But rather than at the time of closing, it'll be over that 15-year period, hence the request for capitalized interest in that as well, which is essentially going to equate the present value of the recapture of the price of those lots. Calculated fairly conservatively, in our opinion, at about 2% per year associated with that. And I bring that up because what's being presented and what's in the plans differs slightly from the actual application. Spent some time last week with the TIF attorney, Andrew Willis from Klein Williams, who put this together. We kind of refined some things to make the numbers better reflect essentially what's going on. So he had some really good input, and that was a really good process. Essentially, what the numbers represent is kind of a maximum cap value, because to be completely honest, we're not really sure how the assessor is going to treat the invaluation of these homes, because the purchase price is going to be, because it's capped by the trust fund grant, at about $330,000. The homes that we are listing is well above that, and 3 weeks ago or so, we actually closed on the home on lot 8, which is the smaller of the two, and that closed at $410,000. So that's quite a delta, and we're not sure if the assessor is going to come in at the new or lower capped kind of a market value, or essentially what's going to be right next door. I'm not real sure how they could assess those differently, but we'll see how they end up treating those, because so that's a long way of saying what's in here is kind of the maximum value, what we can get back from the TIF. And if the end assessments don't support that, we'll take what we can get from that perspective. So there is some kind of caveat and question to how this is going to be treated at the end of the day. But appreciate the understanding as we kind of work through this and see how this is going to go. It's an exciting process, but it's unique. It's been unique to the development district and SENAC, but it's been a lot of fun to try to put together, and I think it addresses a really big need, and I think could be a pretty good model that we could look to explore. And I know Southeast Nebraska Development District and SENAC, they're kind of excited about seeing if this could work in other markets as well. So kind of appreciate any flexibility that can go into this, because there are some unknowns and some assumptions built into this request as well. But I do kind of want to say, for listening to public or anything like that, when we talk about this kind of housing subsidy, that this isn't your mom and dad's subsidized housing. The income limits of who these homes can be made available to at that 120% of AMI is a pretty significant number. For a household size of 1, that's a household income of $99,000 per year. And that incrementally goes up depending on the household size. And so for a family of 4, you're talking about $141,000 of annual income. So these are educated professionals, these are teachers, these are RNs, these are welders. Like I said, not mom and dad's subsidized affordable housing in that respect. These are people that we want in our communities, and we can be kind of productive members of the community as well. I think that's kind of all I wanted to run through. If there are questions kind of on the specifics of the grant, I may kind of yield the floor to Melissa on that, with the city being the applicant. But this has been a kind of fun and exciting process of how this came together. I'm excited to see how we can support it.
How soon can you, or have you had a conversation with the assessors so you know what we're working with?
Yeah, I think by the time we come back to it, we can have those conversations of just kind of if they have any indication of how they'll treat them. So by the time we're back with certainly planning board and city council, we'll have a better picture of how that will be treated.
Well, I appreciate your involvement in this. The process you've gone through, this is construction. You've never said the word profit. You're taking risk, and that's appreciated.
On that construction word, we would like to work with the development district, we being Sand Creek, JPO's construction subsidiary, and I think they'd like the kind of local project manager on that. We've got to work through the kind of the procurement requirements of the grant itself through that, but it's certainly something we'd like to keep control
Who
of.
takes control of that? I mean, who's the one that can make that decision? Is that the affordable housing, the SENAC or whatever? Is that the
Yeah.
city? Who
No, they're on board. I think they've expressed they'd love to have us as, we're checking with the state of Nebraska Economic Development on procurement requirements of the grant dollars. Yep.
If all proceeds the way you'd like it to, what time frame are you looking at?
I've given up trying to predict weather
Right.
this season, but as soon as possible.
26.
Yeah. Very early 26, because the grant requirements are very specific to 2 homes need to be built per year, starting in 26.
Really? These aren't shared wall duplexes, they're just.
No, these are the
small,
single-family
small,
homes built.
smaller lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's smaller lots out
I
there.
know we talked about this at one point.
Yeah.
Is this part of that where the lots aren't the old 8,500 square feet, they're smaller lots,
Yeah,
7,000 square feet or
we
something like that?
did a text amendment to zoning to allow for the smaller lots and
That's
smaller,
what these did.
reduced frontages was the point there. These are 1,200, 1,400 square foot homes, just on a smart lot. So
Yeah,
it's
just small.
very standard. What's out there on 7 and 8, again, listing well into the 400s. So we're kind of creating a pretty good delta and kind of casting a much wider net of who could afford
Are these
this.
gonna have basements and?
Yeah, they will have basements, unfinished, but they will have
Yeah.
basements, yes.
So after and maybe that's not a decision you guys make, what are we expecting these to actually get sold for? I mean, I realize that's a difficult question to answer.
Capped at 330,000,
Capped at
approximately. So
Okay.
expect it right around there for those pre-qualified individuals based off of household income.
Yeah, rarely do you get in a building situation when you know your selling price is pretty well. Small number for what you're looking at doing, so.
I think there might be in that grant documentation, like a small inflation factor, like this year it might be 330, next year it's a little bit more than that, right? I think there's a little bit built into that, but.
Well, there has to be some fluctuation because
Right.
material costs hold up and things of that nature.
And again, the grant helps, buy down the cost of those homes. So you're still gonna see a $385,000 home on those lots.
That's what I was saying, the value of the home is still.
But yeah, the grant buys down the cost of those to make them affordable. So it's, again, you're not gonna see any different quality than what's currently out there.
And there's also a provision in the grant that requires ownership to, someone who's qualified to remain in the home as the owner for a period of time, or there is a payback responsibility. I don't know exactly whether it's 5 years or 7 years, I'm not certain.
But it has to be, you have to live in a dwelling. too.
You have to live,
Yeah.
right, you can't rent it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an application process for the prospective buyers, I'm assuming through Senate.
Yes.
Yep, they manage it.
They're the ones that manage it, correct?
They will qualify any home buyers to do that. Again, to Melissa's credit, and at the TIF committee as well, pretty good conversation on TIF towards single-family housing. Melissa had the conversation with the schools in terms of, the palatability of that, and again, knowing who these could be potentially marketed to, and the limited scope of that. I think the school district is very comfortable with that. And, in terms of what the but for is, these are platted residential lots currently, and they'll be built as residential homes. We're not essentially adding heads and beds to what was initially planned. What the TIF goes to is making those market rate homes more affordable to other individuals. And so I think that helps kind of the schools get more comfortable with this aspect as well.
It's income from the school for the first 15 years, right? It would have been built either way, it would have value either way.
Yeah.
Just that the school isn't going to be receiving the income for those 6 months, right? Or the school, the county, the city, everybody involved.
But at least we're not giving the double whammy of
Right.
deciding a bunch of kids. Yeah.
Well, it's a nice program, I'm glad you're using it. So are we
Yeah.
making a resolution to recommend? Is that what?
Yes,
Yeah.
it would be, I don't have the specific language, but it would be a resolution to recommend approval of this redevelopment agreement that you do have in your packet to the city council, which ultimately will come back to you, of course, for approval.
I'll make that motion.
Second. We would now approve it again as a different body. That's right.
Fair enough. Is there a motion?
You got it on second.
Okay. Any other questions? Roll call.
Krejci,
Yes.
Warford,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Okay, I do have a question, not on that subject, but the daycare center, what's the progress on that and what's the,
Things are going well, on track for a building completion in March or April, at which point they'll bring in staff and they'll coincide their opening for kids at the end of May to coincide with the wrap up of the school year.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll need time to get staff trained up and hired and all of that, but obviously they're enrolling now, so I don't have the number on me, but it's on the sign, so if anyone interested, give them a call.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to next item, and then do with the lunch.
Do we reconvene as a council, or we did that?
We're doing that right now, yes.
Poof. Your council.
So we need roll call now.
No, we're fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
For your reconvene.
We're here.
Over here.
For your review, on the agenda is a recommendation from staff, my department, myself, of a acceptance of a bid quote for Next Generation Recreation for a new playground for Logic Park. This was a project we identified as the next playground project that we wanted to do in our community. If you remember, we did one at Hackberry a year ago, turned out well. And so we're continuing to do that as we've had some aging playground units in our city. This particular playground at Plotchik is a piece that's well over 30 years old, and finding parts and pieces for it was difficult, if not impossible. So we identified this site as the next logical place to put a new playground into. A little bit about the process. Backing up, this started way back in October. Well, actually started in August, quite frankly, when I went to the Finance Committee, as this was something that was talked about, presented as a sales tax capital improvement project as part of the fiscal 25-26 budget. Once that budget was approved, I took steps to identify vendors. We brought in 4 vendors to look at the project. All 4 submitted about 3 or 4 designs each. We took a lot of input from staff, city staff, folks in my department, even took it to City Hall to review all of the designs, narrowed it down to 1 design for each vendor, so we had 4 that we had ultimately narrowed it down to. From that point, we opened it up for public input via social media advertising and postings, emails, and we did a survey, a poll online on our website with all 4 of those designs and asked people just to vote for their favorite one. We had over 1,100 votes. So we had a lot of input, which was great. We got a lot of traction. We had 2 designs that rose to the top. Believe it or not, the top 2 only separated by 7 votes. They garnered 32% of the vote. So we took those 2 as the top vote getters. And then based on some input we received as part of the whole public engagement process, we asked them to kind of do a few things to tweak the design. One was color scheme, which again, colors can always be changed and maybe even based on which, you know, if you have any input on this. But one of the things that was made known to me was, and I knew this, but Plache Park, for those of you who are familiar with it, it's one of my favorite park in our system because it's a very passive use park, right? There's a lot of old growth trees, lends itself well to just sitting, you know, a lot of just very sedentary type of activities. Of course, there's the walking trail through it, there's frisbee golf in it, but in general, it's a very passive use park. And so the color scheme, we initially on both of the units we had selected as the top 2 were very bold, and so we kind of revised that to kind of tone it down into more earth tones to blend in better to the natural environment. That was the one change we made. The second was we wanted to throw in a couple more inclusive pieces into the playground design. And so the one we've selected and are recommending for your acceptance threw a couple pieces in for inclusivity purposes. One is, you can see the piece there, yep, where the arrow is a piece that you can wheel wheelchairs. If you have somebody, an individual with mobility that's in a wheelchair, they just roll right onto that. So it's a surface level or at grade, if you will, merry-go-round essentially. And so that was added by the 2 vendors that we ultimately selected as the top 2 designs. We are recommending this one because as per the spec sheet that was given to all of the vendors, one of the things that we evaluated was, and this is a very, I don't say it's ambiguous, but it's very subjective, and that is play value. And we feel like this one has the most play value. If you look at the, go to the site plan, Christina, thank you. And so you can kind of see how it lays out on the site in terms of how it's going to look from overhead. But there's a smaller piece on the bottom right side that's intended for 2 to 5-year-olds. And then the larger structure would be geared towards 5 to 12-year-olds. And that's what we wanted, was a piece that included a wide array of age groups, anywhere between 2 to 12 is what we spec'd it at. Okay. So, so anyway, this is our recommendation. I know obviously you look at that price and there's some sticker shock. It doesn't surprise me, but when you look at it, the one thing that we are wanting to do with any new playground project we are going to embark on moving forward is turf. And so the surfacing for this playground is artificial turf, just like we did at Hackberry Park. Our staff really feels it's important from a maintenance standpoint. So to give you an idea, at Smith Park, we just put new playground surfacing material down on that park here in the fall. That's something we do about every 2 years. And it's something called engineered wood fiber because it's ADA accessible. Okay, you can roll a wheelchair on it, blah, blah, blah. We buy that from a company in Nebraska, just in Butler County, and we put a truckload on, literally a semi backs to the playground, unloads the surfacing material for that entire playground, which is 90 by 90, so 8,100 square feet. And that particular, the cost of that now has risen to $3,000 for one load of basically engineered wood fiber, and we do that every 2 years. And so you start to talk about ROI on things like turf, and you can see where we also feel like it's important to put it in because of that return on investment. And so we feel very strongly about putting turf on all of our playgrounds. We have received a lot of good feedback, positive feedback from the Hackberry project about the turf. And so we feel strongly about continuing to use it in all of our new playground projects.
Kevin, after seeing it for 1 year at Hackberry, how was the wear?
It's been fine. It's been fine. You know, the nice part is, Chris, there's some things too you need to think about it. And, I don't have young kids anymore, but, when it rains, and sometimes as the material deteriorates, it can get muddy under swing sets particularly, or things like that, or, there's puddles and so this prevents that because it percolates through, it drains away, right? So there's that aspect of it. There's not that mess that sometimes you can get on the playground after.
But after 1 year of extensive use to the same time, it's holding up pretty
Yeah,
good.
so this particular company, Next Generation Recreation, the specific brand of playground that this is, it's called Playworld Systems. It's a Pennsylvania-based company. The structure at Smith Park is a Playworld system piece, and so we're familiar with the vendor. We've dealt with Next Generation in the past as a supplier, and we'll feel comfortable in what they can provide us in terms of project management and providing us with a quality project. They do subcontract out the turf piece, the surfacing piece, to a company in Wichita, Kansas called Forever Lawn. It's got a 15-year warranty on it, the surfacing does. So, that's pretty solid warranty in my mind as well. So what you see is kind of going to be the shape of it. Christina, if you could go to the overlay of so you can kind of see the footprint. It actually is not going to be quite as large as our old one, because you can see the old one underneath it. So the square footage will be slightly smaller. In case you were wondering, well, maybe we need to think about something smaller to reduce costs, but honestly, the footprint of what we're going to be putting in is slightly smaller than what's there now. So that's what it looks like overhead, and how it's going to fit into the current site, which has a sidewalk already up to it for, again, ADA accessibility purposes. So again, back to the process. We did the voting, we had the 2 final designs, and then asking both of them to come back to the table with their final design. The other structure was impressive. I think that's what caught people's attention. It was a very large, tall structure, probably 15 feet tall. But really it had less play value in our minds than this one did. There's something for everyone on this, or in this design. Plus it's got two ground elements to it that I think are kind of fun as well. That old cone spinner, they call it, on the right side where the arrow is, it's kind of an old throwback to the old merry-go-round that we still have it at Bel Air Park a little bit, but safer hopefully. This project, we are going into it with the timeline that we want this to be completed by Memorial Day weekend in the spring. All the vendors knew that. That's achievable for them. We just need to get the go-ahead. And the other reality is we want to sign contract here before the end of the year to avoid those inevitable first of the year price increases that we would see. And so the process in and of itself was, I think, very comprehensive. Again, we asked for public input in terms of the polling and surveys of input on designs, and I think they gave us some good feedback as well.
My comment on that is I think it's fantastic that you put in for public input, and it sounds like you had a pretty good engagement. My question to that is, can you tell through your stats, were there multiple votes from the same?
Well, you can only vote once.
You're limited.
That's per IP address.
Per IP.
So somebody could have voted on their phone and maybe gone to their desktop.
So you still got 1,100 votes though.
Yeah.
Nice.
And not all of those, honestly, were necessarily people that are residents, right? It could have been folks that live outside of our community that saw the posting on social media and decided to vote, right? But it might have been a lot of folks too that come to Wahoo that still utilize our facilities.
I think the engagement is fantastic, so I like it.
So as you can see, 177,556. Contrary to what the quote says, we do not pay 50% up front. This would be payable net 30 after the project's completed, after it's been inspected by our staff, myself, and we've agreed to close the project out or to accept the project. Again, this is sales tax funded, and I think this is a great use for that sales tax. It was something that I presented to the Finance Committee as part of the budget process that had been approved by them as a potential project for this fiscal year. I do anticipate we'd like to do continued playground projects. Probably the next one on our radar would be Highlands Park, which would be a brand new park. But I think that would be the logical place where we would put another additional playground in that location on the north side of town. So, questions for me? Try to be as complete about this as possible. A lot of pictures on there if you need different perspectives, but I try to give you as much information as
This
possible.
is just playground overhaul, right? We're not talking about doing anything. We're taking out the shelter area that's there, the swing set on the other side.
Swing set stays, we'll still have that there. Yep, so this is playground only.
And the swing set remains with the same surface it had.
It does, Carl.
Nothing's being changed over.
Yes, it does. It's a very relevant swing set.
Yeah.
You know, they don't Swing sets still are swing sets, right?
I just want to make sure that wasn't being taken out, like, oh, we're taking that out, we're just gonna have this. I don't know, that swing set gets used. I've seen
No,
kids
there's two
do it.
separate, yeah, there'll be two separate locations for this, the swing sets will remain.
Any idea how many citizens, how far out do you go to say that this group of 3 blocks away, do they go to that one, or how do you?
Well, I mean,
do you
I think
gauge
all of our parks, I mean, certainly parks are neighborhood in nature, you know, so if you live closer to one, you're gonna walk there or bicycle there or whatever, or, you know, with your kids, take your stroller there. But I think all of our parks in Wahoo, because of the size of our community, are accessible for everyone in terms of, you know, I think people go wherever they feel like they want to go to in terms of play value. You know, people come to Smith Park, right, from
Yeah.
north side of town, west side of town, out of town, Heritage Heights, those places. So I think it'll be used by everybody.
This is also a very connected park.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the trail, or
Trail.
you can go right through it. Yeah.
Well, they're spread around the city, but they're still accessible to everybody. I mean, we're still somewhat small town. In that
Well,
standpoint.
we've seen this one coming, you budgeted for it, whatever way you pay for it. You've talked about it multiple times, and it's good to see it this far.
And, you know, honestly, this wasn't the most expensive one either. There was higher ones, but, yeah. And, you know, a large part of what we're investing in, you know, like I said, you can see the prices broken out there a little bit itemized. You know, you're getting a play structure for over 100,000, but a large piece of any of this anymore is installation, freight, the construction of it, and then certainly the surfacing that we've chosen to go with. So, but I think it's a great investment for our community.
50% materials and 50% labor.
We are, I guess one more point, we are vetting this, or we are utilizing cooperative purchasing. So, you know, that was, in other words, we're not going out, we didn't do a competitive bid process, much like we did at Hackberry. This is through Sourcewell, which is a cooperative purchasing program, and so we know we're also getting as good of a price in my mind. I think Melissa feels comfortable with it as well. We purchased through these cooperative purchasing, Sourcewell specifically, for a couple different things. And I think we're getting as good of a price in our Sourcewell program as what you're going to get on the competitive bid program. So.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the agreement for Boston Park. Any other questions? Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Morford.
Yes.
Thank you all. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, sir.
The next item is the acceptance of the
You need to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta move down again, that's why I was lost. Yeah, the annual Keno report. I knew it was there, but. I couldn't
Yeah.
get it.
I want to keep looking at photographs. So, as I'm sure you're aware, with Wheelhouse no longer being in operation, that we went down from having 2 Keno games to just 1. However, the Titles Keno game has been really, I don't know, very profitable, maybe is the right word. It's been a very active game. Outside of that, it's pretty much been a standard year, I feel like.
A year ago, that was never even close to this number. I'm trying to remember a year ago what that would have been. A fraction of it.
Right, yes. Wheelhouse, the game that they were running was significantly lower than Titles has been from the start. Titles this is their first full year. I think last year there was about 9 months where Titles game was on the report. There is 1 month of Wheelhouse within this report, but Titles has been played more frequently than the Wheelhouse game was. There's nothing exciting to report about it.
If this is it, a motion to approve.
Second.
I would love to know what last year's number was, because I don't know.
A motion and a second to approve the report. Any comments, further questions? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Krejci,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Third item is approval of resolution 2520-23, year-end certification of city street superintendent.
This is just a form I have to sign that says you guys are okay with Joe being the street superintendent again.
Motion to approve that?
I'll second that.
Hold on.
Nothing here, let's go.
Go Joe.
Okay.
Okay, then motion and second.
Mhm.
Questions? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Krejci.
Yes.
I don't have any other comments, I guess, at this point. I get, and it's not a city project, but there's a lot of people asking questions about the amphitheater. We have a committee meeting next Monday afternoon. The subcommittee that just focuses on that, and then the NRD committee meets the 6th, and the board will meet the next Monday night, and we're hoping to be able to have the final vote at that point to allow them to start construction. We have, with the last meeting we had, everybody that's from the public that was that's on the committee really like the new location, moving south. One time it was going to be on the peninsula that went out toward the Four Farm grave site, but for a couple reasons it's going to be further south. The grove of trees south of the entryway, the amphitheater will be on the south side of that. So it's further away from homes, further away from the airport issues, which is not an issue. We're zoned the same as Baumgart, so we're plenty good there. And it'll be still all hooked up to the city services, and there was one question about the habitat that we got answered. We went with the Federal Fish and Wildlife Commission for their comments, and they had no issue with it. We're not really getting any different answer from Nebraska Game and Parks, but the federal trumps it anyway. And Mike Lewis says he sees no issues at all with the location, and now it's further away from the habitat north of the bird farm. So hopefully that'll move, and that construction will start this spring. So my comments I have, if there are any questions, but council members, any comments?
Just a reminder that going forward, starting in January, the Planning Commission and Board of Public Works will be meeting here as well. So there'll be no more meetings at City Hall.
I just had a question. Do you know any update on the Wahoo Super apartment with regards to building stuff? Has he got anything? I know he's turned
I
plans
don't
in.
know.
I was just curious. It's been sitting there and we've discussed it at the beginning of November. Parking plan was all approved, so I was just curious if there's any traction on when that might actually see something happening at all.
Last I heard from the Chamber office or Economic Development office, it is moving forward. And, first thing, of course, will be tearing that building down.
Well, I mean, the building's down. You know, when he's going to start any kind of construction at the old Wahoo Super for the apartments.
Oh, okay. I
know the plans got submitted and we did the parking stuff.
Oh,
No, I was talking about the Wahoo
Okay, yeah.
Super. Any traction on where that is sitting?
I know plans have been submitted. I don't think Travis has issued a permit yet.
Not that I
So
know.
there may be an issue with something on the, or whether he's waiting on the fire marshal's review, that could be,
I just know it's been
right, understand.
a month plus since we talked about anything with this, so I was just curious.
Did he have an open house last week?
We had an open house on Thursday at
I
the
missed that.
Ivy Suites, is what it's called.
He was gonna email us. I caught him, I was running by, and he happened to be outside, shovel in hand, doing his own work out there, and said they were having an open house, and I forgot all about it. So I didn't have it. Yeah.
Anything else? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't have to do anything. Thanks for making my job easy.
I don't remember anymore.